In this video, we are going to talk about why more people are moving to Dallas, Texas instead of Austin, Texas, despite its popularity, despite how trendy it is, and despite it being a relocation hotspot. And if that's what you clicked on this video to find out, stay tuned because we're getting after it right now. Hello again, everybody. If this is your first time with the channel, my name is Frank and I'm part of a team at the award-winning JB Goodwin Brokerage right here in the eclectic Austin, Texas. Each and every week we put out tons of new content all in regards to living in Austin, Texas, whether it be the pros and cons, comparisons of cities and states like this one, vlog tours of areas and neighborhoods, and so much more. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to this channel and ringing that little bell so that you're notified each and every time we put out a new video. In addition, we get reach outs all the time from people just like you who are in need of our help when relocating to this great city of Austin, Texas. We love finding that perfect place that fits the lifestyle and making that move as smooth as possible. But the only way we can do that is by you reaching out to us, so do not hesitate. Whether you are 9 days away or 90, go ahead and shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. So let's get right to it and talk about why it would seem more people are moving to Dallas instead of Austin. The subject intrigues me because Austin is so popular right now. It's such a touristy destination. It's so eclectic, it's very artistic, it's very weird, a little pretentious, but so many people are coming here. So many tech companies especially are coming here. People with jobs in tech are coming here, so on and so forth. But the truth of the matter is many of those things could be why people are starting to get turned off by Austin. So before we get into the thick of it, I will drop a small disclaimer and say I am going to keep it brutally honest. Just because I live in Austin, Texas, and this channel is called Living in Austin, Texas, doesn't mean I'm going to sugarcoat everything and try to praise Austin. A lot of this video is going to be against Austin. So I don't mean to deter you, to disenchant you, to dissuade you. I just like to keep it real so that you are as informed with your decision as possible. For starters, in my own opinion, the number one reason why people might be choosing Dallas over Austin is the most obvious one, which is going to be the affordability. Yes, it is true that Texas is better bang for your buck than probably California, New York, so on and so forth. But within Texas, you have the cities, the main cities, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and Austin is the most expensive out of all of the cities. When comparing it to Dallas specifically, Dallas's median home price right now is going to be right around $400,000, more specifically just a little shy of $410,000. Whereas the median home price in Austin lately is just shy of $600,000. So right off the bat, you've got a difference of about 200 grand. Now for the record, these average median home prices do include downtown. And the truth of the matter is whatever city in the country you're looking at, the downtown real estate is always going to be more expensive than the suburban real estate. So that begs the question, is $600,000 for Austin and $400,000 for Dallas really what you can expect to find on average outside of the city? The answer is no. In many of Austin's suburbs, you're going to find a median that is closer to 400 grand, maybe 450 grand. And in Dallas, it's going to be comparable, yes, but you're going to find more options in the 300s. So at the end of the day, whether you're splitting hairs or not, Dallas is going to be the more affordable option, which in my opinion is what's bringing so many people to Dallas thinking that Austin is overrated. And it doesn't stop there. Now, since I mentioned it, let's move on to the subject of the burbs. As I mentioned, the burbs are always going to be more bang for your buck than what you can get downtown. And while that is especially true in Dallas, to add to that, Dallas has even more suburbs than the greater Austin area. While it is true that Austin does have its fair share of suburban areas such as Leander, such as Round Rock, such as Georgetown, Hutto, Pflugerville, Cedar Park, so on and so forth, with Dallas, even more come to mind. You've got Fort Worth, you've got Southlake, you've got Prosper, you've got Addison, you've got Arlington, you've got Frisco, Plano, Grapevine, McKinney, so on and so forth. So in summary, not only will Dallas's suburbs be more affordable than Austin's, but you have more to choose from since Dallas is so much larger of an area than Austin. So with cheaper homes and more selection, it's starting to add up. Next on this list is the subject of the markets. And with Austin, you hear so much buzz about it, right? Tesla came here, Facebook's here, Apple's here, Google's here, Dell is here, IBM is here. Is Austin in a bubble? Is the housing market going to crash? With it being such a seller's market right now, and with Austin being such a relocation hotspot, we found that a lot of the people contemplating and debating whether to move to Austin, Dallas, Houston, or San Antonio are weighing the fact that in this market, in such a hot city, it might as well be impossible being a buyer for a home. Now, in defense of Austin, because I will keep it real and objective here, the truth of the matter is people close all the time in Austin. Our team closes all the time in Austin. New builds are being sold all the time in Austin, so it's not like you just have no shot. Closings happen each and every day. But the psychology of it is understandable when people have sold what they have on the coasts, for example, and they're coming to Texas to buy big, and they're looking at one city whose real estate market is apparently in shambles, and they're looking at a lovely, cheaper alternative in Dallas where it's going to be still possibly a headache, still possibly competitive with offers and so on, but seemingly ultimately easier at the end of the day to buy what you want. And to further that point, even more so if you are someone who is not in tech, because such a large majority of the relocation that we see here in Austin are those tech jobs, primarily from the Bay Area and California. So if you don't have a specific reason to go to Austin and you're not in that line of work, Dallas makes much more sense. And while we're on the subject of jobs, real quickly, just so you know, generally speaking, Dallas is going to be more known for oil, gas, and manufacturing, whereas Austin is going to be more known for tech, healthcare, and education. Now, before moving on, go ahead and drop a comment down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you have any questions for us or video ideas for us to do in the future? Go ahead, drop them all below. We'd love to get involved with you guys. In addition, consider liking this video as well, as it really helps our channel grow, defeats the algorithm, and tells us that we are doing a good enough job providing some value for you. And lastly, if there's anyone in your life who is considering a move to Austin, Texas, and would like to learn more, go ahead and share our content with them and spread the good word. All right, now moving on to the next subject on this list, which is bound to ruffle a few feathers and be potentially controversial. I promise to maintain my objectivity and just tell you how it is. And that subject is politics. To break it down for you guys, the state of Texas in a nutshell is a sea of red. And within that sea of red, you are going to find Austin, Texas, which is not only the capital of Texas, but is also essentially the liberal hub of the state of Texas. And maybe you're asking yourself, hey Frank, isn't liberalism quite trendy right now? Isn't it quite in style right now? Absolutely. But the truth of the matter is a lot of the calls we get, believe it or not, are from people in these blue states who feel like the quality of life in their states is quickly diminishing in their belief based on their state's politics. So I kid you not, I have heard people tell me, Frank, I myself am a liberal in a blue state, but I am wanting to move to a red state. Or even, Frank, I'm a conservative in a liberal state and I'm wanting to move to a red state. And so when you're looking at Austin and Dallas, with Austin being the liberal hotspot, with Dallas, it's going to be more traditional, more conservative, more right-wing. And yes, I am generalizing. I'm not saying everyone there is an extremist. I'm not saying everything there is super duper right-wing. No. But generally speaking, as a city, when compared to Austin, it is going to be more conservative. And so we have found that whatever side of the fence you're on, a lot of people in these states that seem to be doing worse and worse and worse are wanting to flock to Texas for that reason as well. And for example, with the Venice Beach homeless situation rapidly increasing and Austin's homeless situation rapidly increasing as well, they're looking at Dallas instead, regardless of their own beliefs. Funnily enough, this is where a lot of the Texans who probably watch my channel comment and say, well, don't bring your politics here. You know, don't change it. Texas is Texas for a reason. And while I won't get into that discussion, it really is something that is talked about quite often. So no, I'm not saying what's good or bad. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm simply telling you how it is. Dallas will be more conservative. Austin will be more liberal. And so many people are looking at a lot of these states that aren't doing so hot right now, and then they look at Texas, and then they look at Dallas and Austin, and they make their choice, regardless of whichever political party they pledge their allegiance to. Now let's raise the vibe and move on to the subject of the differing vibes between Dallas and Austin. And believe it or not, based on our experience, this really does matter to people who are relocating here. As I mentioned, aside from being more progressive, Austin really does hang its hat on being weird, on being eclectic, on being eccentric, on being artistic. You're going to find more of the arts here. You're going going to find more murals here. You're going to find more alternative healthy living here. You're going to find more crystal shops. You're going to find more hiking destinations. You're going to find more music venues and music festivals. And while all of that is really cool, Austin can't help but sort of adopt the unofficial title of the California of Texas. And so think about it. Why would it seem that more people are choosing Dallas than Austin? And from which state are more people moving to Texas from? California. And are you going to choose the California of Texas if it's not working out for you, or are you going to try something new in Dallas? So Austin might have all of those things to hang its hat on, perhaps even more so than Dallas, which is what brings a lot of people here. But at the end of the day, a lot of people might look at Austin and think, well, it is a bit pretentious. It is a bit young. Which leads me to Dallas. If you think of them as siblings, Austin is most certainly the younger, more unpredictable sibling. Dallas is the more stoic, mature, established older brother. And the cool thing about Dallas is that it's not hip, it's not necessarily trendy, it's not necessarily popular, but Dallas doesn't care about that. Something really cool about Dallas is that it is simply unapologetically itself. It doesn't have to try to be cool, it doesn't have to try to be popular. It is simply calm, collected, laid back, Southern living, which if you think about it might attract a lot more people who could perhaps be turned off by Austin's overall vibe. Just something to keep in mind. Next up, we're gonna talk traffic. And what's really cool to see is that ever since COVID, a lot more people are able to work from home, which has led to an increase in relocation with people saying, wait, I can choose where I live now. Come on by to Texas. But at the end of the day, so many people are still commuting to their jobs. And you might be thinking, well, Frank, Dallas is such a gigantic metropolis, eons larger than Austin, Texas. Wouldn't my logical mind tell me that the traffic inherently is going to be worse there? Absolutely not, and I'll tell you why. Once upon a time, Austin was just a small college town, the University of Texas at Austin. And the story goes, Austin essentially grew in popularity and in population much quicker than the city ever anticipated, much quicker than its infrastructure could keep up with. So what that means for Austin is that for decades now, there's just been endless construction. And when there is endless construction, there is endless traffic because they're trying to fix the traffic with the construction. So it is this never-ending loop, this never-ending nightmare that is exasperated by the repetitive influx of people flocking to Austin more so now than ever before. Yes, it might be smaller, but man, is it so much more of a mess. And when you look at Dallas, the cool thing about Dallas is, yes, there are so many people living there. Yes, it is a metropolis compared to Austin, but Dallas could always grow in alignment with its population and its popularity. So by now, no, I'm not saying that Dallas is devoid of its rush hour, is devoid of its traffic headaches, but you'll find a much more well-oiled machine, better equipped to handle any influx of people moving there than Austin, Texas. So being consistent with the theme of this video, why is it seeming like so many more people are choosing Dallas over Austin? That is yet another reason. They're taking their commutes into account. The truth of the matter is, however, whether it's Austin or whether it's Dallas, if you are moving from the coast, either one is going to be a breath of fresh air. Now I'm going to briefly talk about the travel. See, with Austin, in such gigantic state of Texas, Austin is in the very center of it. So it's not going to be like the Northeast, for example, where you can drive a few hours and be in another state, drive another hour and be in another state, that sort of thing. If you live in Austin, it is several hours just to get out of the state. And while that is still true of Dallas, having to drive at least a few hours to get out, yes, it is still going to be shorter than Austin because Dallas, being north of Austin, is closer to Oklahoma, is closer to New Mexico, is closer to Louisiana. The downside of that, however, is if you are in Dallas and you want to go to the beach, you are even further away from Galveston, which I would not recommend. You're even further away from Corpus Christi, and you're even further away from South Padre Island. That is something I will stick up for Austin in its defense. If you like to go to the beach, yes, your quickest drive is still going to be about 3 or 4 hours, and then the others are gonna be maybe 6 to 9 hours. But if you are in Dallas, it's just, you take the good with the bad. If you wanna be able to road trip out of Texas with a shorter drive, look at Dallas. If you are wanting to be closer to the beaches, however, a little bit, not by much, but a little bit, look at Austin. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the subject of sports. Now, for many of you, it might fall on deaf ears because you're not into sports, so I do apologize. However, if you are into sports, as many of us are, and you see it as a form of escapism or a hobby or a passion, let's say you grew up going to games with your father and now you go with your children, or you go with your wife, or you go with your friends. Regardless, if you're a season ticket holder, or if it's just something you like to do every so often, maybe once or twice a month, you have that in abundance with Dallas. However, in Austin, there's really not much to offer. For the longest time in Austin, Texas, the only sports you had were through the University of Texas at Austin, college sports. Now, it is true, in just the most recent year, Austin got its very first professional sports franchise in the MLS. It is a soccer team, and so now we finally have something to root for, whether you're into soccer or not. But if you look at Dallas, it has the Cowboys, it has the Rangers, it has the Mavericks. So my point is, if sports are a normal part of your life, you're going to be rather disappointed if you come to Austin unless you're into college sports or unless you're into soccer. So no, with everything I've said in this video in mind, I am not trying to bash or belittle Austin, Texas. This channel is called Living in Austin, Texas, mind you. But as I said in the beginning, I am someone who keeps it brutally honest. I'm not some slimy, gross realtor who sugarcoats everything and tells you it's perfect. That does you no help when you are trying to make such a significant decision in your life. The truth of the matter is, whichever side you're leaning towards, both cities are great. People move there for a reason. People are happy there for a reason. It's all about what's right for you. And hopefully from this video, I've been able to help you arrive at your own conclusion and make the best decision for you and your family. So whether it is Dallas or whether it is Austin, again, what we pride ourselves in doing, what we are here for, is finding that perfect place for you and making your relocation process as smooth as possible. People in your position, people just like you in your shoes, reach out to us all the time, and so can you. So do not hesitate, don't be shy. Whether you're 9 days away or 90, go ahead and send us an email, shoot us a text, give us a call, any day of the week, any time of day. And even if your choice is Dallas, we are still very well connected to the Dallas real estate market, and we would be happy to find the perfect agent to help you guys out. And again, we put out tons of new content each and every week all in regards to living in Austin, Texas. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to this channel and ringing that little bell so that you're notified each and every time we put out a new video. Consider liking the video as well, as it really helps our channel grow and tells us that we're doing a good enough job providing some value for you. Comment down below with any agreements, disagreements, questions, or ideas for future videos. We'd love to get involved with you guys. And lastly, if there's anyone in your life who you know is considering a move to Austin, Texas, and would like to learn more, go ahead and share our content with them and spread the good word. And until the next one, you guys, my name is Frank, this is Living in Austin, Texas, and we will absolutely catch you later.